Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Haraami United. Guys, today we've got a special guest on, so we'll introduce them in a moment as well. But obviously, we've got a few things to cover off today. We want to just go over the Dortmund game. Obviously that was last night. Get the views of the boys on that there. Another massive news we got through today as well is the Adidas deal, which is quite significant. And on the back of that, we want to talk about, the next 5 years. How does the next 5 years look like? Especially with these deals going on. Are the Glazers staying? Are they staying in minority? Are we going to get new owners? What does the next 5 years look like? We're going to try and look into that. And we've also got our main boy, Teddy, on this show as well, man. He's a bit of a self-proclaimed oracle. He's been banging on the beat about the things behind the scenes. He wants to unload today, so we're going to also definitely cover that as well. But before we do continue, like I said, boys, we've got Akil, we've got Tej, as I've already mentioned, and we've got Afsal as well. But our special guest today is Zander. Zander, how you doing?
I'm doing good, bro. Thanks for having me on, just thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it.
No worries, man. We appreciate you coming on, and thanks for coming on. Zander, what we always do with any new guests, obviously, although it is a United-centric podcast, we like to understand, and I think you're a bit quite unique, which you'll tell me the story yourself, but.
Mm-hmm.
Football. How did you get into football, I suppose, but more mainly Manchester United?
Well, football really. It's like, growing up in Scotland and all that. It's just what you watch. So I just grew up as a football fan, Then 2008, Champions League final. I was about 3. Beat Chelsea. United won it. And ever since then, I've been a United fan. It's just one of the best decisions I've made, really. But yeah, like you said, I'm quite unique. I've got 2 teams. But yeah, United's in me. I'm red and all that. So
Cut you open and you bleed red, yeah?
Yeah, I'm open and I bleed red. I think we all do.
But 3 years old. Did you remember the final?
Vaguely.
Vaguely, mate. You got good memory, man.
To start off, when we watched it, me and my dad was there.
Okay.
And I remember my dad saying to me, "Whoever wins this, you should support it." And I went, obviously I was a 3-year-old, so I went, yeah. And United won, so.
Fair play, man. Look, there's many times in there. There's a moment in time, a game that's been played between 2 teams, and you pick one side, and whoever wins, as you said, that then becomes your team for life as well. And although I don't want to touch upon it too much, but I think it'd be amiss not to. Just looking in the background, obviously, everybody, I know you can't see this, but Zander's got a flag in the background. Zander, what's that flag?
It's a Rangers flag. I grew up in Scotland, so pretty much my dad, Rangers fan. You don't get a choice, pretty much, with Celtic and Rangers. So
when you're in Glasgow, you're either
in
Rangers or Celtic,
yeah, the 2 clubs in Scotland, and you don't get a choice. You're either Rangers, Celtic, and that's who I was. We've been through tough times, but we got through them.
No,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah. I think as a Brown fella as well, you don't get a choice. You have to basically just support United itself, innit? And it helps.
But what I was going to say, Zander, is that a common thing in Scotland? Like there's football there, just like I suppose the England as well. You live and breathe it. If you don't watch it, which is probably not many people, but yeah, it's either, especially Glasgow. A lot of people have 2 teams, or.
You would have to ask people in Glasgow, but I would say it might. It is a common theme that you support Rangers or Celtic, and then you have a team in England.
Okay.
But like you said, mate, it's a common theme. I think it's a common theme. But
Okay.
That's my opinion on it and take on it. So
Yeah, because
Eh,
my sister lives up in Glasgow now as well. I think they moved about 8-10 years ago, something like that. They're on the Celtic side of things, but they're obviously United fans from here. But they're on the Celtic side. So I think it is unique to Scotland. Well, that I know of anyway. That you just said you'll have a Glaswegian team, and then you'll have another team in England. And obviously you can see sense that you got United in yours.
yeah.
Again, like I said, thanks for coming on. But what I just want to touch upon, boys, the Dortmund game this morning. Anybody watch it?
Yeah, I watched it.
What was your feelings, Ted?
Highlights, if that counts.
No, that don't count. But we'll let you talk about it a little bit after. I'll be honest with you, I did watch this one this time around. But Ted, what were your thoughts?
I thought we started off really positive. I thought we were playing some good, intricate football. Very positive. Good to see. You can clearly see Ten Hag he's trying to get that possession-based football with working in transitions. The way he's trying to get play out from the back. Do I think we've got the players for it fully? No, but I like the fact that he's rotating quite a lot in pre-season. He's tinkering. He's playing around with it. Lots of positives. Me thinking outside the box in pre-season, I wouldn't read too much into the result being 3-2. I mean, it could have swung the other way, 4-2 United, or it could have even been 5 or 6-2 Dortmund. Do you know what I mean? It could have swung either way. I wouldn't read too much into the scoreline. I'd read more into how we're playing, the identity, the sort of style of play. So very positive from me in terms of what I've seen first half. I do feel again though that certain defenders have been literally sort of like put on the show really to be exposed a little bit. And Victor Lindelof for me, unfortunately, is not good enough. Now, some people may just counteract that and say, well, you know what, Tej, we watched Harry Maguire. He weren't good enough. He got a right bollocking from the new goalkeeper. And you can see that clip has gone around.
I was just going to
media.
say that.
It's done its rounds, but you know what? I watched that clip as well. And Maguire again, yeah. You know what? He's got to fix up, because that level of, if he brings that level of nervousness straight back into it, he ain't going to play. He will not play in this Erik Ten Hag team. However, I still think that he can overcome it. And it's by the sounds of it, it looks like a lot of clubs are not willing to pay the 40-50 million pound asking price for him, and I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. I think he's staying put at United. So, but going back to the defense, because talking about the game, still a lot of nervousness. And even though Dallas scored a really good goal and there was lots of positives, again, there's that element of nerves when they're on the ball. I don't want to compare too much, but when Man City are on the ball, when they're playing out from the back, you necessarily don't feel that. And at the moment, I'm still feeling very nervous with our defenders. But apart from that, as a whole, quite positive. It'd be good once the pre-season's over and get the season started.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of do echo that. And the funny thing is, we had a so-called second string. Who would out of the starting 11, who would maybe be in the first 11? Maybe Eriksen, no, maybe not. Obviously with Mount, Sancho, maybe not. But other than that, you couldn't really. Again, maybe Delot as well. But other than that, it was a second string. Again, having watched the game live, I got up to watch it. I was really encouraged. With the way we're playing, the build-ups. I feel for Amari Forson as well. Poor lad, he was having a good game, but obviously his temper got a little bit of him. And the great thing was what Erik Ten Hag again showed his authority, took him off. But not only did he take him off, he, on the sideline as well, spoke to him, about the game, why he took him off. And it was quite positive. Like Erik Ten Hag said, for the hour or so, it was quite positive. But I'm not going to take too much away from it, because you always have, when we win the pre-season games, people say, and we get excited. People say, "Oh, don't read too much into it." But then when we lose, people say, "Oh shit, we're not going to do anything," or we're going to finish below Liverpool, Chelsea, rare. So it's always a bit dramatic. But before I move on to the next point, I've got a little thing about this. Because we had our starting 11 out, obviously the brownmunde did, and it was completely off. Anything on the game at all?
We had that one this week. I think we got like 3 right.
Yeah. Zander,
Yeah.
did you get any? Did you watch anything of it or any?
I watched bits of it, and I've just been saying this all pre-season pretty much. It's a pre-season friendly. It's pre-season. There's going to be moments where we don't look as good, where Ten Hag might, put a second string out against Dortmund, or like he did with Real. It wasn't, we're not there yet to where we're going to see the first team getting like a full 90 minutes. Whereas I think is, the next two pre-season games, I think we will, like 70, and then you might see the 90 again in the last pre-season game. I thought it was good. I thought there were some negatives, like there is in any game, there's negatives, but there's also positives, Um,
What kind
and,
of things did you see when you say negative? What was it that you felt that?
I would just say when, like Maguire, if he's adding that, nervousness back in that back line where we seen, under Ollie, where it wasn't, that calm under Ten Hag, I don't think he gets a game because you can't go into a Man City, Liverpool, or a Chelsea, and you have to play Maguire and he adds that nervousness. You can't do it because we'll get punished, and you might see that 6-3 or 7-0 again, and I don't think that needs to happen. So I think either Maguire needs to change his game, or we should move him on.
But would you not say Erik Ten Hag has given him the chance to change his game as well, to learn the Ten Hag way, or?
I think you could say that. You could say that he has given chances. You could say that he's given everyone a chance to change and fit into his system. But I just think with Maguire has Ten Hag given him enough chances, or is it we just need to move him on, or he just doesn't fit Ten Hag's system, which is okay.
I think the reality is on this point. I mean, we can go around the houses with this. We just need to literally wait and see what happens now. I mean, I look at certain players who we've written off for other clubs and they've bounced back. I think with Maguire, I think it's not just that level of calmness. It's also reading the game differently as well. It's not necessarily. I think traditionally at Hull and Leicester, he had that sort of, he knew he was the main guy who was going to be winning every set piece for clearing the defense. He was always going to be a busybody because he was probably playing on a team that was always going to be sort of like playing the sort of like a low block when it was at Hull, for example, when he was at Leicester as well. And then it's just understanding and developing your game to transition into more of an attacking sort of defender at the times when you need to attack, when you need to push forward, when you need to get out, when you need to stay behind. So I think only time will tell with stuff like that. But what will be interesting is that Wolves game. I don't know, maybe one of you guys can pull it up for me, the stats, but I don't actually know the last time that United started the season on a Monday night and a Monday night game. So that'll be quite interesting. I think if anything, it will benefit us knowing that all the other clubs will play. It will take sort of like the edge off. It'll be at Old Trafford. It'll be late. The atmosphere should be electric because obviously we've got a couple of signings in now. But I do think Wolves won't be. I don't see us losing, but I still can imagine Wolves being a very difficult team to play against with set pieces. And I think players like Maguire may come into it, Johnny Evans, whoever, because they will be looking towards those sort of dead ball those sort of situations where corners, set pieces, where they will look into sort of like attack United. I think Ten Hag will know that. He'll have learnt from it from last year. I think we beat them last year. Was it 1-0 away from home? Rashford scored. I think Rashford was dropped in that game.
Yeah, it was Rashford second half. But like you said,
and I think he come out and said after the game as well. He kind of like just had a big deep breath off. Very, very hard game. And I think a lot of pundits, a lot of people said at the time, like, it was a big bold move him dropping Rashford at the time. But I think Ten Hag will definitely learn a lot and take it into the new season. But again, sometimes we need to not recreate too much of this modern day defender. A defender's there to defend. And ultimately, if he defends his goal, the team wins and they don't concede, it's job well done. So sometimes we have to remember the basic fundamentals.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to comment too much on Maguire because I don't think he was actually that bad. I don't think he's been that bad through the whole pre-season. When he's played, he's looked a bit fitter. He looks a little bit more mobile. I think Maguire can be picked upon. But yesterday was, for me, especially the second goal, was Victor Lindelof. Could have just passed it to Brandon Williams on the left-hand side, but he tried to play a clever pass through the lines and he just got caught and we just got done by it. But going back to what we said earlier, you know, when we do now starting 11, we only managed to get 3 right out of the 11. But my thought process was right. You know, how we always do it. You know, you'll play 45 minutes for so many games, and then you'll play 60 minutes, and then, you know, a game or two before the season starts, especially about 2, you'll play 90 minutes. So, you know, you're building up. And even the 2 games that we've got now after this game, Lens and I forget the other one in Dublin. So we've got Old Trafford, Lens.
Isn't it Athletic Bilbao?
Athletic Bilbao, yeah, in Dublin, which is one day after another. So, you know, he's going to have 2 separate teams there. So it'll be interesting to see how he does it. But some of the players haven't played 90 minutes, if any of them. I think Bruno was the closest against Arsenal, and that was his second game back. But, that was my theory of building up. But then having watched yesterday's pre-season friendly, now I'm thinking, because what happened last season, we started, obviously we had the first 2 games which were poor, but then we went on a run, we done really well. Then after the Carabao Cup final, we just gassed. The end of the season, we were just like, you know, limping across. But has he seen what Man City do? Because Man City notoriously have a slow start. In nearly every season they've won the league, they're always almost written off at one point. Because I think were they 11 points behind Arsenal at one point as well. They were saying, you know, that's it, their game's over. So is Erik ten Hag going to do something whereby he actually, and Fergie used to do, if you remember as well, get the players fit into a position when it comes to the tail end of the season, we're up and running. We've got more legs. We've got more, oxygen in our lungs as such.
Do you think he's going to do that though, Hobbs? Do you think that he is doing it? Because I think we're more fitter than we were last season, and I agree with you that we did gas. We all seen it. You know, after the Carabao Cup final, was it? It's not long after that we lost 7-0 to Liverpool, and you could see it. They were tired. They were gassed. They had nothing left. I think this season we might not see that, and could it be where he wants a slow start and then to the tail end, we just go through the gears and take teams apart and maybe push up higher up in the league? Like
I said, go on.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Hobbs. I kind of agree with what you said there, Zander. And I actually think, I think last year was a very unusual situation for us. I mean, even when you look at rescheduling fixtures, the King's coronation, all these things that interrupted the flow of the team. Very rarely, I remember talking to people with tickets and like who wanted to buy stuff and asking me inquiries and stuff and saying, you know, what's going on and why is it? And all of a sudden there was a demand. People wanted to watch us again, and there was always a demand that people might say, oh no, that's always the case, but it was the first time where like we were in all the competitions, all 4 competitions, and I'm trying to think when's the last time that actually happened, that we were that far into the season, we were in all 4 competitions. It's literally been years and years that I can't even remember. I can't even remember in the Fergie where it's been that long. So it was a bit of a freak. Do I see that happening and sort of like doing what City do? Probably not. No, but do I see United? If anything, I think Ten Hag will know the importance of the league. He'll know the importance of, you know what, challenging, competing, because that's what you have to do as Manchester United, and I think he'll understand that, and I think he'll want to get as close to City as possible. So I think that's why he's looking towards building sort of like a good solid squad where he can afford to rotate properly, because last year he just couldn't rotate, and I was thinking, why not?
I totally agree.
I agree with you. What it is as well is I think what would benefit Ten Hag is Haaland. Him coming and playing up front, and I think Sancho as well playing in that false 9 role that he's been doing during pre-season. I think that will basically take the burden off obviously Marcus Rashford. If he can, there's rumours saying he wants another number 9. If he can get just say for example a Kane or Osimhen or someone like that, I think that helps out Haaland as well.
I think we've been missing a number 9. For a long time. I think we've all seen it. I think when we got Martial, I actually thought, you know, this is a learning. This is actually, we're taking a step forward. But it just hasn't worked out. And we've got Højlund, and I think it will work out. And I think we do need another number 9. You know, what happens if Højlund got injured, for example?
Yeah.
You know, and he might not want to take Rashford out off the left, and you might not want to take, you know, let's say he's playing Sancho on the right, you might not want to take him out there. So if you have, you know, a Kane or someone like that, where you can interchange him in certain games, where you might not need to play a Højlund, where you might not need to play a Kane, you've got the 2 number 9s doing the job, where not all the
See,
pressure's on Rashford scoring the goals. Do you know what I mean? Like it was last season.
I agree, and I think the thing is as well with Rashford. What's interesting, I don't know if any guys caught the 21 questions or whatever quick fire with Gary Neville. He openly says on there he doesn't like playing through the middle. He likes playing
I
on the
caught
left.
that as well. I
Yeah,
caught that as well.
And you know, there's interesting clips floating around him. I think Ericsson come out recently. I think it's today or yesterday. Yesterday or the day before was talking about the new potential striker, and he said he's had words with them. He you know, an interesting prospect of what he's like with him being a fellow Dane and stuff. But with these sort of players, I think the what's nice and refreshing is there's the options of tinkering. It felt sometimes that last season Martial was our only choice, and even him when he was unreliable, then we had to go on just Weggy. And I think Weggy, me included, Weggy sort of convinced me. I thought, oh, okay, yeah, he's running around, he's busy, but I think Roy Keane summed
I think
it
he convinced us all, Tej.
Yeah, he convinced us all, but the reality is, you know what, it was painting over the cracks completely.
I think the problem we had with Weghorst was he brought that running around, you know, that high press. We've seen it. He was very good at that. And you look at his first game against Palace, I think, you know, if he didn't make them runs and drag them 3 defenders to leave that space, for that big space in the box for Bruno to score his goal, we don't get that goal. Because, you know, that the 3 defenders would be there in the position they could, you know, stop it, but he took them with it. I think we all were convinced the only problem was with Weghorst, he wasn't clinical enough. He couldn't take the chances, and there were times where he would have a lot of chances, in my opinion, in a game, but he just couldn't finish. And I think if we got Højlund now, I think he will do that, where you press high. You've seen it at Atlanta. He knows what he's doing. He knows where the goal is, and he, you know, yes, he might have scored 9 goals, but you have to look what else. What else does he bring to the team?
But
you know?
Yeah, and I agree with that. But you know what's interesting most? Hops, I don't know if you clocked it yesterday as well when you were watching Dortmund. The goalkeeper's the way his positioning is, how he's pushing that defense up, how he's literally so far out of his box. I love all that. And there's so many times I'd be screaming last season, thinking, De Gea, quickly get the ball to the defense. The transition from defense to midfield to attack. It was so slow at times, and you know what? Finally, it will stem from the keeper, and I can't wait to see it. I'm excited, and I'll stick my neck on the line here, and I'll tell you now, Anana, he is going to be brilliant for us.
I think another thing, Harps, before we change the subject, is I think when we get Højlund and another number 9, it will add that balance in the midfield and in the whole team, really. Because I think that's what we're missing. We don't have that balance where you are the number 9, is it balances all out. And I think that's when we'll start to see a good performance from United under Ten Hag.
I think we'll see more of a clinical performance, but you're right, Zander, you know, kind of balancing things out. But what we will definitely see, especially for the next 12 years, is our boys in Adidas. So I think, you know, one of the biggest news that come out from today and this season altogether is Manchester United and Adidas have extended their partnership in a deal worth £900 million up until 2035. Boys, first and foremost, what does this mean in terms for the club? Well, let's talk about it first. When you read it, what was the first reaction?
I mean, when I read it and I seen it, I think it was a surprise. I kind of thought, was it Adidas worrying maybe if we got, you know, new owners, that they might bring in a Nike back, and they realised if they don't get the situation done now, they might be out for, you know, success and all that. So I think it was that. I think there's no negatives in my opinion, because it's 90 million guaranteed, and you know there'll be no differentiation. So if we're out the Champions League, we're still going to get 90 million. I think it will help us financially with transfers, because you could do the transfers
But
off of
is that clear?
future
Is
income, if
is
you
that
know what I mean.
is that clear though? Is that actually made clear that if we don't get Champions League, we still get the same level of sponsorship in terms of what
Yeah,
we
because I
what
think
funding?
it's fixed, is it not? It's like a fixed thing, so it'll be a
They
fixed
said
money.
900 million is guaranteed.
Wow. Okay.
And just Ted, I want to clear that up. I think I mentioned it to you earlier, didn't I? So is people keep saying every year we're not in the Champions League, we don't get the money from Adidas, the full money. That's incorrect. It's if we're out of the Champions League for 2 consecutive seasons, then there's a 30% drop. But that's never happened. Aki, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really good news for United itself, even the club itself. I think it's massive news. They've just literally secured a record-breaking sponsorship. The one thing that's interesting is not just the deal, but the figures the figures are involved in it as well. It's 900 million over 10 years. Like that literally is like 9 million a year, and it's fixed as well. You know what I mean? Like the way I think now is Adidas won't agree to that price over 10 years if they knew that the Glazers were going to stay. Because when the Glazers were there in the last couple of years, we've not been consistent in the top four. We've been out, up and down, whatever. We've had that drop as well, where there's been a reduction of obviously the fees and stuff. I think this guarantees that top four as well, where the club is literally on a rise and going to be going higher than second to third to first as well. I think Adidas knows so much happening behind the scenes. They've probably had chats with. The way I see it as well is Matt Hargrave. We've took it from Adidas, and for him to come from Adidas as well, and to get that 10-year contract with Adidas as well, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Could you not say that? But could you, on the flip side to that, then could you not go that? Do you remember when FIFA were going through all that legal stuff and all that, and Adidas still sponsored them and still, made the match balls and all that? I know it's completely different, but you could argue that. You could argue that on the flip side, but like you said, I think it's good for the club. It's good that we know who our shirt sponsor will be going forward, and there's not that worry. And the fact that in 2025, that's when we get the money starts coming in, it will be good. Where you could do, I don't know if anyone agree with me here, you could start doing signings off of future income.
Yeah, I think what it is, comparison to TeamViewer, we were 50-50 thinking, are they going to drop? Because there was a statement saying they're not going to renew and stuff. But then
have said they're going to drop, so I don't get what's going on there.
Yeah, because in my opinion, it was like, are we going to drop for the season, or are we going to keep it on for another season? What's going to happen? We were literally 50-50 on it, but just Adidas renewing it from 2025, going forward for another 10 years. I mean, we've got that security there as well as fans to know that we're backed by Adidas. We've got that level of financial security as well.
The reality is we are Man United. We are just a juggernaut, and that's the reality of it. And you know what? Over years and years, our heritage, our history, it speaks volumes. And you know what? It's positive, but I'm not gonna lie. When I first seen it, I was thinking, is it what? Please say the Glazers ain't staying. Please don't say that this means that they're staying. I know that a few fans were tweeting that. I was thinking, God, what does it mean? What does it mean? But maybe that's my negative Nancy coming in there, so I do apologise. But I quickly steered away from it. But overall, very positive. I'm sure you're going to enlighten us now, Harper, with some lovely financial statistics, with you being the money man.
No, there's no financial statistics as such. I think they're all there to see. I don't need to comment on that. I think, it's about timing. I've heard a lot of people say the Glazers are now going to stay because of this £90 million guaranteed per season. But don't forget, this isn't until 2025. This deal kicks in. So, that's that. But, this is how can I put it? If you're an investor, I said it earlier as well. If you're an investor and you're Adidas and you've got, the Glazers saying that back in November that they want to explore alternative investment avenues, things of that nature, I'm there sitting thinking, well, why do they want to do that? what's happening behind the scenes. Do you know what I mean? You can see the fans protest and things of that nature. You see, boycott Adidas, and a lot of people saying they won't buy official merchandise until the Glazers are gone. But when you're investing a record-breaking deal, what are you going to look at? You're going to look at, hopefully, where's the club going? Is it stable? What's happening with the ownership? What's going to be the risks of us not getting our money that we're investing into this club? And like you said earlier, Ted, Manchester United is a juggernaut. The name carries so much weight. However, what doesn't carry much weight is obviously the way the Glazers are now running the organisation. Yes, we're making money, but unfortunately, we've been losing money for the last 5-6 years, year upon year. So the model that they had, that when they bought into, is now running down. The debts, Aki, I think we shared something the other day as well. Even the debts are now rose up to £1.1 billion.
Yeah, so the debts have gone up to around about £1.1 billion, which is ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. Like
inflation's going up, so the money that
Yeah.
they've also borrowed,
Yeah.
obviously because they do it against the dollar as well, so that's going up. The Fed are, raising their rates as well. What this says to me, again, boys, shoot me down. Obviously, it's all about timing, isn't it? We had David Beckham. Was it on Friday that came out?
Yeah, he come out, didn't he, and said they
Yeah.
need to go. Yeah, it's best for all parties. Yeah, I saw that.
I mean, it's just
sorry,
fun.
Zander, I'm going to let you come in. But I was going to say, yeah. So we had Bex on Friday come out. Now, again, this deal doesn't tell us if there is going to be new ownership. To me, it does, but it doesn't tell us who's going to be the new owner. So let's just clarify that. It could be Sir Jim Ratcliffe or it could be Sheikh Jassim. But yeah, Bex comes out. Bex is obviously backs the Qataris. With his deals, that played for PSG. He was one of the prominent figures for the World Cup as well. He's also an Adidas sponsor still. Lifetime sponsorship from Adidas as well. And then 2 days later, Adidas come and confirm a deal with Manchester United as well. And the other thing is as well, if the Glazers were staying, if you were going to announce a deal, it would be the time that they said that they were staying. Because what you've got to look at, the reasons why the stocks are at the moment as they are, what, $22, $23, I've stopped checking out because they don't really matter much. They are so high because on the back of the thought that Sheikh Jassim is going to take over. Now, if it was confirmed the Glazers were staying, what would happen to the stocks? They would plummet. They would go more likely less than what they were before the announcement of a potential sale, which was around $12.
Yeah.
So if you did want to prop up your stock, it would be this announcement of this deal to say, look, yes, we're staying, but look, we've agreed a record-breaking deal with Adidas, which would kind of prop up your stock value a little bit more, but they haven't. They've done it at a time when the stock's almost, at their highs.
So it's just the Adidas thing. Some people might go, they're staying, but like you said, Horps, they wouldn't announce it now. They would announce it in a couple of months. So I think it might, to me, my opinion on it, it kind of gives, they might know something because they would have asked, are you getting new ownerships or are you staying? Because I don't think they would have, if the Glazers are staying, they wouldn't have done it over a 10-year period because they know the toxicity and, the protests and how much that can hurt them. So I think it kind of gives an indicator that we might be getting new owners. That's my take on it.
Zander, I just want your quick opinion on this, really, because you're a special guest for us, so it'd be good to get your opinion on it. So, as you said, you just mentioned, the toxicity between in the fan base, and we've seen a lot of protests against the Glazers, obviously, and boycott the Adidas. We also had boycott the shop as well. Obviously, I don't want you to go any deeper than you need to, but what does this say to you when you've got such protests? But then Adidas still renew a record-breaking deal.
It just says to me that, yes, they know the backlash that they could get from this. Yes, they understand, the toxicity, and we all know it, that, people boycott Adidas. It hurts them. But again, I don't think they would have done it if the Glazers are staying, and it wouldn't be over a 10-year period. It might have been for another 5 years. So that's my take on it. You know, like we've seen it, you know, time and time again, boycott Adidas. I think they know something. I think they would have asked, like I said again, they would have asked, you know, what's the take, you know. So I think it gives us an indication, and I also think they know that they could get backlash from this, but I don't we haven't seen the backlash come, you know, from it. People are happy, and you know it's different from the team view because we don't know whether they're going to pull or stay. So we know Adidas, we've got them for 10 years. You know, but again, Horps, you could say they might just have been worried if we got a Qatar or a Sir Jim and Nike come in, because I think they can afford it now. We all know they can afford a shirt deal with us again. So then it could just be that. You know, I don't think it would be, but maybe that could be the answer. They got worried that, you know, if they didn't secure it down, a Nike could come in and take it away from them. So again, we're a juggernaut. So
Yeah, because like you said, it could be that, and you know, there's also a school of thought whereby, you know, when the new prospective owners came to look at the books and things like that, you know, and we've heard rumours of the Glazers saying that the value of the club is 6 billion. You know, one of the questions would have been, well, how do you think that? Do you know what I mean? Because currently it isn't. Stock share price and all that tells us. But I think this may be one of the things they would have said, well, we already negotiated a record-breaking deal with Adidas, and this is it. And you know, they may have said, well, okay, let's see if you get that over the line, and then yes, we'll give you the 6 billion that you want, because you've said that there's a record-breaking deal happening, and that's happened. But like you said, you know, it's to be seen. Now, I just want to just move on quickly, obviously, with the Adidas deal as well. I mean, Zander, I will come to you, but I just want to start with Ted as well.
yeah, go on.
He's a very busy man. You know, very lucky to get his time. Do you know what I mean? But with these such deals, where do we see ourselves in the next 5 years, Manchester United? So Ted, I mean, there's many possible scenarios. I just want you, because I know you're short for time. I just want you to give me your take. What does the next 5 years look like for Manchester United?
I think for Manchester United, the next 5 years, I can definitely see us definitely winning a league title for sure. Whether how many that looks like is too hard to say, but I can definitely see us winning a league title within that time span. I can see us being right back up there with competing with City. You know, who's that with? Do I see it being potentially Liverpool? No. Do I see it potentially being Chelsea, Newcastle? Yeah, potentially. I can see that could potentially happen. They've got the foundations there to work on it and potentially be competing. But I do see it being a Man City, Man United sort of like toe to toe, going all the way. And I do think that success is literally not too far away now. In terms of the next 5 years, I can see a lot of players going out. I can see a lot of new players coming in, but I can also potentially
No
see a
shit,
new
Sherlock.
stadium. Yeah, well, obviously we say no shit Sherlock, you know, sometimes a lot of these sort of like philosophical managers like Ten Hag like to stick to what they know. They're not necessarily known for consistently shaking it up either. If you have
Well,
a
just
look at
imagine
Ten
that. They
Hag,
got Casemiro's what, 31, 30? No, they're till 35, 36.
mate, forget
Fair enough.
Casemiro. You're
Yeah, yeah.
talking like more so Anthony. You're talking more so Martinez. You're telling me they can't stay at that club for 5 years? Of course they can.
So go on,
So
carry on.
you know, yeah. So going back to the point, but I definitely see us competing for league titles consistently. I think the buzz, everything seems to be getting back. I just think this one little thing that's lingering over us is the Glazers ownership, and I genuinely think even if we just signed one more player and the ownership was done, it would just be a huge boost for the club, the players, the morale. It would just be so positive. Whereas we could sign 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 more players, but if that ownership still is there, it's just going to be that bitter sort of feeling, the question marks, the uncertainty, and it just leaves a little bit of a sour sort of taste in your mouth in regards to it. But as a whole, competing against other teams, it's going to be so interesting. Hearing the news about Tottenham Hotspur, what's going on with them at the moment. Will they be brought out by Jay-Z, Beyonce? Who knows? And then Chelsea, Pochettino. I'm really, really interested to see what he does there. And obviously with the ownership model there, I do think that they could be really successful. They've really shaken things up, especially last year, the way they're spending and the way they're offloading players. Again, even Arsenal, they've made some big signings, and of course, Man City. Again, what's going to happen? Are they going to be in this league? Are they going to be thrown out? Is that it? Is that going to be them done? Is it going to be a treble and out? What is it? Who knows? All these variable factors. So it's just an exciting time to be a football fan. Exciting time to be a United fan, and yeah.
You know what? There's a lot of things that you just said there, and you know what? It's quite important. Obviously, we mentioned City. Obviously, they got the 115 charges, so 116 now, and I think they recently confirmed that they're spending 300 million pounds on renovation of their fans' experience. They're going to build some stuff around the stadium as well. There, I think somebody's message somewhere. I can't remember where it is, saying we're looking to invest about 7 million. The Glazers are. Glazonomics. Zander, what do you think the next 5 years? What's your opinion on where things are going to be at?
I see the next 5 years being really bright for us. We've got players that can be here for the next 10 years. So I think we could win a league in the next 5 years, because we've got the number 9 that we wanted. We've got Ten Hag's players. We've got always choice, first choice. So it's bright. I think we could win trophies a lot. A lot of trophies, I say. So I think it's really bright, So, and like a Chelsea or a Liverpool, right now I don't see Liverpool winning a league in the next 5 years because from where they are and all that. So I look at Chelsea. I think they'll be dangerous this season, and they'll be dangerous under Poch and how many other years. Just like what you did at Tottenham, took a Tottenham team and all that. So I think the future's bright. Next 5 years is bright. Just let it run its course, and just wait and see what happens.
Can we elaborate a little bit on that, Harpo? Just I know you're asking people questions about United in the 5 years, but one thing, because I've made that comment, Xander's made that comment about Chelsea. Can we elaborate a little bit on that? Because I'll tell you why I think Chelsea will be interested to see what he does. Is watching how Poch operated at Southampton, operated at Spurs within his first 2 seasons, and how he's really good at getting these players to a different level of fitness and conditioning and bringing actual top coaching ability. It'll be interesting to see what he does with those young group of Chelsea players. A lot of talent in that squad that needs to be unlocked. So that's my viewpoint on it. I mean, unless you see it differently, Zander.
With Poch, he's very good at getting youngsters, and that Chelsea team, I think the last season was a team of individuals, talented individuals, but they didn't have the manager to be the team that they want to be. And I think under Poch, what you will see is him taking that team of individuals into a team, into a cohesive unit, into 11, into a team, a family, and I think they'll be dangerous. You look at Nkunku, you've got Nicholas Jackson, you've got all these young players that they're signing. So I think they'll be dangerous. And now whether that is, they become dangerous next season or the season after, I just don't know. But I think under Poch, they will be good where, I think last season was a bit of a mess. You went from Tuchel to Potter to Lampard, I think. And then you had all that. So you went through a lot of managers there. So I think
it was too much.
Sorry.
I was finishing what you were saying. I agree. It's just too much going on there and too many new players, and it was just very difficult for them to embed. I do feel sorry for Frank Lampard a little bit. But I do think he was silly for him to go back, to be honest with you. But yeah, sorry, that was my 2 cents on Chelsea.
No, yeah, like you said, I think it was the unsustainability. You can't go through so many managers and expect to be successful. In the one season, it just doesn't work because what it will happen is players are getting used to this system, Then they're getting a new manager in, getting used to that system, and then another. It's just all different. So I think they need Poch. They needed Poch, and like you said, I feel sorry for Lampard. You know, I just don't see why he went back there. I think after the Everton job, maybe he should have went to the Championship, goes down there, learn his mojo, as you say, in the Championship, find out what's best for him, and if he comes back in the Prem, so be it. If he doesn't, it doesn't. You know.
Yeah, no, look, boys. I mean, Ted, thanks for asking me whether you can talk about it, and then just goes on and talks about it. Just doesn't even wait for me to answer. So, yeah, I don't know how you ask questions and wait for answers, but no, that's fair enough. Okay, I'm so. Any thoughts on? I don't know. Are we still talking about Chelsea or are we talking about Man United now? I don't know which.
Well, we're all United fans, so let's keep it to Man United. But look,
before you answer that question, because to be fair, both Ted and Zander have been quite positive, actually, saying the next 5 years, you know, it looks bright and it looks like we'll win a league. So without asking them, where do you think that positivity is coming from? And then, yeah, you know, your thoughts on the next 5 years or so.
With Zander, we've heard him a lot on Spaces. He's very real. With Ted, God knows where that positivity's come from.
Yeah,
he could have just woke up on the right side of the bed today. But for me,
I think he's had a fresh cut today, so he's just happy.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. But for me personally, 5 years' time, probably halfway through a new stadium build, 2 Premier Leagues, and we win a European Cup.
So yeah, you're really positive in terms of that. No, that's fine. Akio, I'm going to ask you the same question as well. Hopefully, you're going to give me a bit more in-depth answer than that.
Yeah, I think basically I'm not saying that United probably this season will win the league. I think, again, we'll challenge for the title this season. I think it'll be a proper challenge this time. Not more of a top 4 kind of challenge, but more of a title 1-2-1 with City probably. I think the season after that, we're probably going to go for the title. We probably end up winning the title as well. I think obviously we are going to be in that process where Ten Hag's probably going to have his team proper set. The way he wants to play, how he wants to play as well, with the right players. But I think the main thing is obviously getting the ownership sorted. Once that's sorted, I think the club itself can get into a reset. They get the recruitment sorted as well, the backroom staff, the top of the board as well, get everything, because it's not just about the players and everything, it's about the training facilities. If that's basically right for the players, then we've got a good team there who can challenge for, even the Champions League. Because right now, we've not even got basically a top state of the art, basically.
Can I just ask a quick question on the training facilities thing?
Go on.
So you stated obviously the upgrade on the training facilities. Now, we know whoever buys Man United buys all the land around it. We know there's plans for a stadium. Like, surely you've got to do a new stadium at this point. You've got to effectively top what Man City you've just announced. Do you reckon we leave Carrington? Sort of bring a training base closer to the stadium like City have done?
I don't think you need to bring the training base closer. I actually like the fact that it is far away from each other, because you get your own privacy kind of thing. So that side of thing, I think there's plenty of land to do things on Carrington. So a bit like what PSG done. You know, I think they spent 300 million as well on theirs. I think they started back in 2019 or even earlier than that. So it took a bit of time. So I think Carrington, you know, we can continue with that. But Old Trafford, yes. Do you know what I mean? That Manchester village that we keep talking about, that needs to be created there. We need, to me, rebuild a new stadium. Well, build a new stadium, and get Old Trafford into a state where it's still synonymous. It's still got the history and heritage there as well. So you've got the youth team playing there. You've got the ladies team there as well. Yeah. And, you've got all the facilities and amenities that go around with a match day that the players need. but also fans. So we've got enough space there. But that then also ties in with why I believe that, well, I know the Glazers will not stay, is because they just cannot compete. Forget this Adidas deal, which is not going to go into their coffers at all. They need a cash injection of up to 1.5 to 2 billion now today.
Yeah,
Harps, this is the thing though, because all the investment around the stadium, the training facilities, that's gonna cost the new one at least about 6 billion there anyway, 4 billion or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Or even around that kind of free region. So I think
you got like 1.5, 2 billion for just the
so
stadium
I
alone.
think
So
the success itself for the players on the pitch, it also relates to being off the pitch as well. So I think once it's sort of off the pitch, on the pitch, you will actually see it as well.
Yeah,
Zander.
Also, I'd just like to come in there. I don't think we would want to leave Carrington. Like you said, Horps, it's privacy. You have a training ground near this stadium. The players won't get that privacy they would get if they were at Carrington. So I think we should stay at Carrington. I think it's good to have it far away. It gives the players the privacy. It just takes it away from all that. And I think we just need to invest in Carrington. Best in class. That's what we had before the Glazers took over. You know, Old Trafford was the best in class. Carrington was the best in class. Everything United was the best in class. We leaded the way. So we need to get back to that. We've fallen off of it. So I think, you know, we stay at Carrington just to reinvest, you know, redevelop it. There's enough land there to do what you need to do. Like, you know, you look at PSG, look at Newcastle. They're going to I think it's reinvest in the training ground. So
yeah, like you said, you know, there's a lot of investment to go through. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of money that needs to be spent, and hence why the Glazers, for me, will not be staying, even with this Adidas deal as well. Boys, I think we've had a good one today. I think, you know, we'll look to wrap it up now. I mean, this is Manchester United. There's so many more things that are going to come out, obviously, in the next couple of days as well. Zander, I thank you very much for coming. You know, it's been really good to get your insight as well. You know, like I said, it's unique supporter in your own rights and the way you support the club as well. You know, hopefully, I think you're going to try and get to a game this year.
yeah,
I think you went to the Edinburgh game, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
The pre-season friendly against Leon.
Yeah, like I said at the start, thanks for having me. And I've got to go for my dinner anyway, so perfect timing.
Never miss the roti, man. You know what I mean? The first thing, you know what I mean? Or otherwise, you know what I mean? You know, your nan's not going to be happy. So go on, mate. We're going to go anyway. But everyone, thanks for listening to the episode. And we'll come out with some more content soon.
Yeah,
thank you.
Like I said before, thanks for having me.
No worries, Zander.
For having me on. And yeah, hope I could come on more if you want me back.
No worries, but definitely will do.
Good. Yeah.
Cheers then. Okay, everybody. Have a good one. Thank you, Zander. Take care.
Thank you.
Cheers.
No problem.